Alright, welcome to episode 2 of Kowalski Analysis. In this one, we are going to be looking at Africa, and to be more precise, we're going to be looking at the northern, eastern, and western regions of Africa. Here's a map of that. You've got Eastern Africa containing the covered countries of Kenya, Uganda, and Rwanda. We'll be looking at Western Africa, where Senegal, Ghana, and Nigeria are covered. And also Northern Africa, where the only officially covered country is Tunisia. Well, there's also some trackers in Morocco and Egypt, but we'll be leaving those aside. We'll only be looking at Tunisia. Quick disclaimer, we'll not be looking at Southern Africa, as that part of Africa is a whole beast in and of itself. As you can see, all those countries are fully covered, or almost. Well, there's not much in Botswana anyways, but it's fully covered, and it deserves a video of its own, with its own region guessing tips and ways to differentiate between those four countries. So let's first take a look at Tunisia. As you can see, the coverage is concentrated almost entirely on the east coast. Some quick things to note. They drive on the right side, they've got black license plates, and they speak French and Arabic languages, so it's a bilingual country. You will see a lot of signs in French as well as Arabic. I'm not going to go into too much detail in this video, as I've already covered Tunisia in another one of my videos. If you want more information on this specific country, you can watch that one. So this is the first location. First things to note, yeah, we're driving on the right, we've got a black license plate. Other things to note, we've got this kilometer marker here with a green top. We can also see a red variant. You can always see the kilometer number and the distance to the nearest city in that direction. If you look on the other side, we would see something, I can't quite read it, but it's 14 kilometers away. And we've got a lot of metal poles, as well as olive tree plantations. Those are very common in Tunisia. If you're in a rural location, you will almost always be looking at some olive trees on the side of the road. You can also see a French bollard here, which is cool. Tunisia was, of course, a French colony. They inherited some of the French road infrastructure. Second location, here we can see some signage with French as well as Arabic language. Another thing to note is that you can also see these French poles here. If we take a closer look, just like in France and Spain, you can see like the inverted V on top with the isolators in the middle and on either side. Here's another French bollard. It's not that hard to correctly identify Tunisia. There's a lot of clues. Let's jump over to Senegal. As you can see, it's almost fully covered. There's just not that much in the desert, of course, but the main roads and the big towns are covered. So let's take a look at some locations. This is a typical Dakar location, so Dakar is the capital and the westernmost point of Senegal. As you can see, Senegal has some really cool blue license plates on all its vehicles. This is also a very recognizable Dakar round because of the high buildings and the narrow streets. We're driving on the right side of the road. As you can see, this is the front of the car and it's on the right side. And we're speaking French. So just like Tunisia, Senegal was a French colony at one point, and they also inherited the language. They do not speak as much Arabic, and you do not often see it in a typical street food round. This is a Gen 3 location in Senegal. They are quite rare nowadays, but you can find them. As you can see, we've got these French poles as well, which you can see in Tunisia. Gen 3 in Senegal has these rifts and this roof rack. But nowadays, Gen 4 is way more common. This one is a southern one because we've got this white car, which can be found mainly in the southern parts of Senegal. And when I speak of the southern parts, I mean everything around and below the Gambia. So, well, now I lost my location, of course. Alright, I found another location with the same clue that I wanted to share. Just like in Tunisia, you can see these types of bollards with a red top. You've even got the right number here and the distance to the nearest city on either side. Nigeria is very big and it's also partially covered, mainly in the big cities. Also, the roads between them are covered, so you can find yourself in quite a rural location. But more often than not, you are in a city. So this is a typical Abuja round in Nigeria. We are driving on the right. We've got some unremarkable white plates, so those are not too useful. We've got black and white dashed curbs. You can see those a lot in Nigeria, not only in Abuja, but also in the other big cities. Here, well, in Abuja, you've got these nice mansions, which you can see everywhere because it's the capital and there are a lot of diplomats that live there. There's also this follow car, of course, the police car. You can see white police cars, gray police cars, black police cars. But if there's a police car following you, you are probably in Nigeria. Well, of course, Tunisia has a follow car as well, but you just have to get to know the difference between the Tunisian one and the Nigerian one. So this is a Lagos location. As you can see, quite different. You can see a palm here, so that would indicate that we're close to the coast. It's very crowded and we're right next to some slums here. We've got the same white plates, we're driving on the right as well. And this is another car that you can see in Nigeria with the hazard strips on the roof rack. And we've got a black police car following us. One last thing to note, you can not only find the Gen 3 and Gen 4 camera quality, but you can also find this more grainy, more blurry and less detailed type of coverage, which you can also see in India. So a lot of people can confuse India with Nigeria when it's around like this, but more often than not you are gonna have a police car following you, and it doesn't really look like any place in India that I know of. Moving on to Ghana. Ghana is partially covered. There's not a lot of coverage. The big cities that are covered are Accra, Kumasi and Tamale. There's some tinier ones like Wa, which I find a beautiful name for a city. And all the connecting roads between them are also covered. The biggest way to region guess in Ghana is the landscape. So this is a southern landscape. You can see that it's quite tropical. You've got this lush and dense vegetation, a lot of different tree types, and well, it feels like jungle on the side of the road, and it's also hilly. That is very common in the south of Ghana, so anywhere from Kumasi to Accra and this whole region below it to Cape Coast and here to Ho, which is another beautiful name for a city, by the way. So this whole region is gonna be hilly and tropical with a lot of dense vegetation on the side of the road. The next region I want to look at is the central region, which is a lot more flat, and the vegetation is not quite as lush and dense as the southern region. Here you can find a lot of low shrubbery and also some low trees, not like the big trees that you can see in the south. And there's a lot of orange soil on the side of the road, which you can start to see. And this is a very northern round. As you can see, we can see a lot of soil. The vegetation coverage is pretty sparse and the trees are few and far between because there's not a lot of water to go around probably. Most of the roads in the north are also not tarmacked. Most of them are dirt roads. Yeah, this is just a typical northern Ghana landscape. Also pretty flat. Moving on to Kenya. Kenya is another country that is almost completely covered. It's just that in most of the deserty regions, there's not a lot of stuff going on, but most of the roads are covered. You are mainly gonna get rounds in and around Nairobi, Nakuru and Kisumu. You can also find an occasional round on the coast, of course, and on the connecting roads between the large cities. So this is the first round that I want to show. We're driving on the left. And we've got British plates, so yellow on the back, white on front. What makes this very recognizable for Kenya is of course the snorkel. You can also see that in older coverage. This is a Gen 3 round, which was here before we got the beautiful Gen 4. You can see the same snorkel, well not the same, but another snorkel and also the roof rack on the car. Wow, this road actually got tarmacked in the span of a few years here. And this is just a typical central Kenyan round. It's not too hilly. We've got some lush vegetation, but also a lot of agriculture going on. This is a coastal round. You can see we've got some palms. As you can see, you can also find coverage where there is no snorkel on the Gen 4 car. So it is possible to have a Kenya round without a snorkel. Again, we see the yellow license plates on the back, driving left, white right license plates on the front, and this is just a coastal round because of the palms. This is a far western canyon round because of these trees. Those are some eucalyptus trees. You can see those a lot in the western part of Kenya, around Eldoret and Kisumu, and also in and around Kampala in Uganda, which we will be looking at in a minute. Well, I say in a minute, but we're going to be looking at it now. So this is Uganda. There's not a lot of coverage in Uganda. Basically, only Kampala is covered. This blue road here that you see leading up north to Pakwa is actually RE coverage, so it's not official. Yeah, it's just typical RE coverage. Actually quite nice. The resolution is not too bad. I like this RE coverage. But the official coverage is only in Kampala and in some national parks here and there. So this is a typical Kampala round. We've got this unique Google car. It's white with black side mirrors. Again, we've got British plates. Yellow on the back, white in front, and we're driving on the left side of the road. The main factor to differentiate Uganda from its neighboring countries is of course the Google car. And this is a rural Uganda location. Again, we've got this white car, but what's remarkable on this one is the extreme redness of the soil. If you see soil this red, you are very likely to be in Uganda. And now on to our last country for the day, Rwanda, which got covered very recently. August of 2022, the images were made available to the public, but as you can see, at the moment only Kigali is covered. All the other coverage has yet to be released, basically. At the moment you can only get rounds in and around Kigali. So this is a typical Kigali round. We've got a very clean street. That is due to the monthly cleanup events that the government organizes for its citizens, in which the whole population is basically working together to get rid of all the garbage that is in the streets. You can find some garbage, but every month it is cleaned up. Kigali is a very well-signed city. The street names are on almost every corner, and even the house numbers have the street name on them. And this is a tarmac road in Kigali. As you can see, we've got a black Gen 4 car, which you don't see in many other African countries. I actually think it's the only country in Africa which has a black Gen 4 car, which you can see this prominently. You can also find a white Gen 4 car. And we've got British plates, so yellow on the back and white on the front, but in this country we're actually driving on the right instead of on the left. So it's neighboring countries, Uganda and a country over, Kenya, they drive on the left side of the road and have the same license plates. But you can differentiate Rwanda because it drives on the right. So I just covered some of the tips I know for differentiating most of the African nations, except for the southern ones, of course. Now let's play a map I made to practice the different countries on. It's got 100 locations in every country, so it's not balanced to the size of the country, but it will give me an equal amount of locations for each country. So we're likely to get to Rwanda. Let's play a round or two. Okay, we're looking at a Senegal here. Why do I say that? We've got French here, Coinsalerie Générale. We're driving on the right side and we've got what looks like a blue license plate here. It's not actually that visible, but it could never be Tunisia because it's Gen 4. Tunisia is only covered in Gen 3 at the moment. We've got leather poles here, which are also very French. For a region guess, we've got a silver car, so probably not south of the Gambia. I would just go somewhere in the populated parts, but we'll see. And it's actually quite close to Dakar. Next round. I think we're actually looking at another Senegal round. And the main reason I say that is because Touba is a place name in Senegal. So if I had to take a guess, I would probably go in Touba. Is there any other big clue to get Senegal here? It's not really that obvious. That does look like a European flag, so it would make sense for Senegal since it has some past relationships with the EU, of course, being a former French colony. So let's look for a place that fits in Tuba, because I do somewhat want to get this right. This looks about right. Let's go. And we're actually not in Tuba at all. We are in Saraya. Alright, this is a Tunisia round. I have played a lot of Tunisia, so I know what it looks like by now. We've got the follow car here. A French looking car as well, actually, and these French poles, of course. So for a region guess, this looks like one of the main highways. We've got hilliness to the north, and we're driving somewhat north-south. And I would say we're maybe somewhere here. Actually, that doesn't make too much sense. Hilliness is pretty weird. Could it be here? I don't think so. I'm gonna go here. Let's see. Yeah, it's somewhere, it's around there. So actually there are hills here. Okay. Anyways, good guess. So that is a Tunisia round. This looks like a Kenya round to me. It's very rural, actually. And there's not too much going on to differentiate it from Senegal, for example. But I don't think you would ever see these hills in Senegal. Nigeria, you would not see this follow car. The silver one is not that common, or I don't think I've ever seen it in Nigeria at all. So Kenya is basically the only option left. Except if it's Rwanda, but it can't be because there's no coverage in Kigali. So this is definitely Kenya. And I would say we're somewhere around Mount Kenya, or maybe Aberdare range, I don't know, somewhere in that hilly parts. And it's actually quite west, but we got the country there, so that's good. This is another Tunisia round. I think we are somewhere in Tunis, the capital. We've got French riding here, and this follow car, which is the northern variant. So you can not only see the dark green one, but also this one. We've got water to our east, and then land on the other side. So, are we around here? I would say so. Not much else makes sense, to be fair. Let's look at the road angle. We are in some sort of curve. I'm not that hopeful that we are going to find it. Let's go here. It's actually in the old town near Carthage. But yeah, that is what we were looking at, and it is Tunis. So that's the first game. We got all the countries correct. Let's play one more. Okay, this is cool Nigeria coverage. So this is a round on which a gold player, for example, would probably guess India, because the camera quality looks just like it. But this is Nigeria because of this black follow car, of course, and you don't see a back of the truck in India. As for where about in Nigeria this is, I have no clue. Probably more north, but I don't know. Yeah, it is all the way north, near Sokoto. This is a Uganda round. We've got the very red soil, the white car. This looks like Tunisia to me. We have not got a follow car right now, but we do have this French electricity pole. And we've got these olive trees here. Another olive plantation in the distance there. And, well, let's go for a region guess. I was thinking just around Tunis, maybe more south actually. Maybe around Mornach. I don't know. Okay, it's all the way near Hammamet. Okay, I did not know you could see hills there. Cool. But it's a good guess again. This looks like a Nigeria round. We've got this pole that looks Brazilian, actually, like with the segments and the dots on top, but it's speaking English. So, and oh, here we got the police car again. So yeah, just Nigeria, and let's go near the coast somewhere, because, well, I thought I saw a palm tree, but actually it doesn't seem to be any near us. So let's just go somewhere central south, and it's quite a good guess, all things considered. This is another Nigeria round. We've got the white police car following us. And Abuja, looks like it says Abuja, so let's just go near Abuja. Maybe more north, but because it doesn't really feel like Abuja to me. Maybe Kaduna, I don't know. Let's see. And it is more north. It's near Bauchi. We didn't guess a single country wrong, and I hope these tips can help someone. So yeah, see you in the next one. Bye.